Hello, this is BentvNewsRoundup, a compilation of major news story in the week ending. I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program today. The leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, has insisted that the 2018 budget has neither brought austerity to an end nor addressed cuts. The Labour leader stated that schools' funding still cut by 8% per pupil. The police have not received a boost either. The Prime Minister, however, said that the government in the budget puts more money in people's pocket and ensure that austerity is nearing its end.
Non-protected departments face a real terms cut of £4.1 billion. The Prime Minister promised austerity was over. The reality is it was a broken promise budget, and she knows it. With violent crime rising, police numbers slashed and conviction rates down, why did the government fail to find a single penny for neighbourhood policing in the budget?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman, first of all, we did put extra money into CT policing in the budget. That was on top of the £460 million that has been made extra, that's been made available for policing in this year. That is in sharp contrast to what Labour was saying at the 2015 election, when they said the police should take 10% cuts in their budget.
Jeremy Corbyn. Mr. Speaker, this is just another example of the contempt in which the government holds police officers. Who said that? Not me, the Police Federation. No wonder the Police Federation and police chiefs are taking the government to court over their pay. Mr. Speaker, with school funding cut by 8% per pupil, does the Prime Minister and her Chancellor think the little extras are enough to end austerity in our schools?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman, what we actually see happening, as I said earlier, is more money announced in the budget for schools. That's on top of the £1.4 billion, on top of the £1.4 billion extra that's already been announced for schools this year, and there'll be a further £1.2 billion going into schools next year. And actually he's wrong, because overall per pupil funding is being protected in real terms by this government. What do we see in the budget? We're ending austerity, we're bringing debt down, we're putting more money into our public services. We're taking the country forward. What would he do? His policy would mean borrowing more, taxing more and wasting more, and taking us back to square one.
Jeremy Corbyn. Many schools, including mine, have had to resort to asking students and their parents for funds. Not me, Sasha, a parent worried about the future of her school, because this broken promise budget means that head teachers will still be writing begging letters to parents. And can the Prime Minister explain why she chose not to end the benefit freeze for 10 million households, but instead brought forward a tax cut for higher earners?
Can I say, actually, as the right honourable gentleman knows, we have put extra money into universal credit in the budget. What we see importantly is universal credit being a welfare reform that ensures that people are encouraged to get into the workplace, and when they are there, they earn more. But I'm interested that the right honourable gentleman chose to raise the question of tax cuts. On Monday, he said that cutting taxes for 32 million people was frittering money away on ideological tax cuts. Yesterday, the Shadow Chancellor said Labour would support the tax cuts. On Monday, the right honourable gentleman, the Leader of the Opposition, talked about tax cuts for the rich. Yesterday, his Shadow Chancellor said what we've always known, that the tax cuts were for middle earners, head teachers and people like that. So when the right honourable gentleman stands up, perhaps he can tell the House whether he will back the tax cuts and vote for the budget.
Are you done yet? Mr. Speaker, the...
Order. It doesn't matter. I've got all the time in the world. It will take as long as it takes. The right honourable gentleman will address a House that has the manners to listen, and the same goes when the Prime Minister is speaking. There will be a decent display of respect, and we will go on for as long as necessary, as the public would expect, to ensure that that's the way we operate. That is all there is to it. Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The benefit freeze takes 1.5... If you'll wait a moment, I'll explain what my question...
Order, Mr. Hans, calm yourself, young man. You're getting a little overexcited. I know you've already asked a question. You blurted it out to the best of your ability, and we're most indebted to you. But now is the time to keep quiet. Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, the benefit freeze takes $1.5 billion from 10 million low and middle income households. A low income couple with children will be £200 worse off. For them, there is no end to austerity. Labour would have ended the benefit freeze. And as she well knows, Labour policy is to raise taxes for the top 5% and for the biggest corporations in the country. That would be a fair way of dealing with financial issues facing this country. And can the Prime Minister confirm, will she kindly confirm, there is still another $5 billion of cuts to social security to come in this Parliament, if it lasts till 2022, hitting the incomes of those with the least? Will she confirm that? Yes or no?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that, of course, what he fails to mention from the budget is that as a result of the changes we've made on universal credit, 2.4 million people will benefit by £630 a year. And when he talks about helping those who are on low incomes, yes, we're helping people who are on low incomes. We're saving people money by freezing fuel duty. That's been opposed by the Labour Party. We're letting people keep more of the money they earn by cutting income tax. That's been opposed by the Labour Party. The right honourable gentleman keeps claiming that he's backing working people. But I say to him again, if he wants to put more money into people's pockets, if he wants to take care of working people, he should vote for the Conservative budget on Thursday.
Professionals have advised parents and other vulnerable people to get a flu jab before they get flu-like sickness that can lead to life-threatening complications. In the research carried out in Orlando Health Hospital, flu vaccine has been found out to be an effective way of protecting vulnerable people from flu and developing complications.
Careful, Hannah. Kids are very effective spreaders of disease. Just ask Erin McMichael.
My husband and I just assume if one kid gets it, it's do the best you can and then hope for the best, because more than likely somebody else in the house will come down with it as well.
Even though kids don't like getting a shot, these kids know why they get one.
All right.
It's better to get a shot than get sick. It helps protect you from the flu, and so when you go to school, your friends don't catch it.
A Florida hospital surveyed parents and found a significant number of parents are misinformed about the vaccine.
Doctors recommend the flu vaccine because we know, based on science and research and facts, that it is the best way to protect yourself and your family against the flu.
The survey found a third of the parents questioned don't think the vaccine works. More than half said children can get the flu from the shot, which is not true.
The parts of the virus that are used are completely dead, so you cannot get the flu from the flu shot.
The survey also found about 28% of parents believe the flu shot can cause autism.
We know that the flu vaccine is safe. You cannot get the flu from the flu vaccine. You cannot get autism from the flu vaccine. It is not a conspiracy for doctors to recommend the flu vaccine.
Scientists try to figure out what strains of flu are likely to circulate in a given year. But even if they guess wrong, the vaccine still offers some protection.
When your body receives the flu vaccine, your body starts to think, okay, I've got to start making antibodies to help protect against the flu virus. So even if it's not a perfect match, getting the flu vaccine will still give your body some protection.
Infectious disease experts recommend getting vaccinated before the flu season begins.
Tell me where I need to hold it.
This goes for adults as well. It protects the people who get vaccinated, as well as babies who are too young to get the vaccine.
With few days to the midterm election in the U.S., President Donald Trump has been making last-minute push for members of his party. The election could change the balance of powers in Washington, as opinion polls suggest that the Democrats may take control of the House when Americans vote on Tuesday.
With just days to go before the U.S. midterm elections, GOP members are getting a major boost from the top. U.S. President Donald Trump is hitting the campaign trail to provide last-minute support for Republican candidates in key Senate races.
Because they won't give us any votes on border security.
While President Trump himself is not on the ballot, Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, says the president is a driving force for some heading to the polls this November.
It can't help but be a referendum on the president because he looms so large over our politics. He dominates every news cycle. So he's not going to be the major player in each and every race. But overall, at the end of the night, there's no question that the voters are in some ways saying what they think about Donald Trump.
Some critics of President Trump have blamed his heated rhetoric for fostering hostility and anger in some sectors. That in the aftermath of a violent week where 11 worshipers were gunned down in a synagogue in Pittsburgh, and a Florida man was arrested for mailing bombs to 13 prominent Democrats and a cable news outlet. VOA senior correspondent Jim Malone.
The question we don't know is what this atmosphere in the country the last several days, how this will impact the election. One thing it has done, it's taken the focus off the issues in the sense the president wanted to focus on, which was immigration and the caravan. He is going to try to get back to that now very quickly.
The Democrats are also trying to sway the conversation, placing greater emphasis on the issue of health care.
The president is trying to make a lot of noise. I think the public cares about what's happening on issues that directly affect them. Right now, I think the health care issue is very important for Democrats because Republicans have tried to repeal Obamacare, including eliminating the protection for people with pre-existing conditions.
Political watchers say preserving a Republican-run Senate is President Donald Trump's best hope. Democrats, based on analysis of public polling, appear likely to win back the House when Americans head to the polls on Tuesday.
The opposition parties in Cameroon have accused a long-time ruler Paul Biya of rigging and intimidation to win his 7th consecutive time in power. President Paul Biya, who is one of the longest-serving presidents in Africa, began his new term after the appointed Constitutional Court rejected all 18 petitions challenging Paul Biya's victory.
82 is one of the world's oldest heads of state. He recently won a re-election with 71% of the vote. His strongest challenger, Maurice Kamto, received 14%. Biya's October 7th poll victory comes amid claims from opposition candidates that the election was marred by fraud, including ballot stuffing and voter intimidation. But Biya's supporters disagree.
Paul Biya is a guarantor of peace, success, prosperity, and living together. That's why we've chosen him as our president. Am I telling the truth? Yes, I'm telling the truth. Yes.
The Constitutional Council rejected all 18 petitions claiming fraud, giving the long-time Cameroonian leader a 7th term in office. It's possible that President Biya could remain in power until at least the age of 92. Amid post-election candidate claims, some opposition leaders rushed to declare themselves as the legitimate winners of the vote. Candidate Maurice Kamto pronounced himself the winner before even the first results were announced.
J'en appelle au sens républicain.
On this, I call on the Republic's defense force.
Des forces de défense.
Forces of law and order to positively accompany this intense historical moment which the people of Cameroon have collectively bestowed on us memorable. My arms are open for us to work together for our national renaissance jointly.
À la Renaissance nationale.
Campbell, whose claims of victory were short-lived, alleged that 6 of the 11 members of the Constitutional Council were biased in Bia's favor and could not hand him the success that he claims he rightly deserves. Local and African Union election observers said the poll was mostly successful, with minor irregularities that didn't affect the outcome of the vote, since they say he allegedly controlled the process. Many Cameroonian citizens remained worried about the future of their beloved country and want to see him do more to unite the country. Critics say despite this win, President Biya faces tough times ahead.
What's happening in North and South is very sad. Many people are dying, people are suffering, villages are burned. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a matter of elections. It's a matter of survival for the Cameroonian people. And I hope the international organizations will do just that.
As tens of thousands of Cameroonians are displaced by a bloody separatist insurgency in the English-speaking Northwest and Southwest continue to push for secession. The chaos began in October 2016 when lawyers and teachers in English-speaking cities went on strike in protest at having to use French in schools and courtrooms. Clashes broke out in the following weeks and some protesters were killed. Hundreds were arrested and put on trial for charges carrying long sentences or death penalty. Political analysts say support for secession continues to grow as hundreds of thousands demand a breakaway state called Ambazonia.
Also, opposition political parties in Democratic Republic of Congo have expressed their fears about the integrity of the electronic voting machines that will be used at the forthcoming elections. The politicians fear the machines may have been compromised to give the ruling party an edge at the election.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is poised to see the arrival of long-delayed elections December 23rd, as longtime President Joseph Kabila is due to step down after 17 years in power. DRC election officials say machines by South Korean technology company Miru Systems are vital to holding the polls. The Electoral Commission says the machines will speed up vote counting, where past elections have been marred by voting irregularities or violence. But opposition party members and Catholic bishops have called for the machines to be inspected by international experts over concerns the devices might enable fraud.
Right now, we're not afraid of anything, but sometimes people can steal with this machine here.
His sentiment was shared last week by protesters who filled the streets shouting, "Voting machine equals cheating machine." Miru Systems, located just south of Seoul and Pangyo, declined VOA's interview request, but responded to the controversy in a statement to local media. CEO Chung Jin-bok said the concern about its voting machines stemmed from not fully understanding how they worked. Chung said even with the introduction of an electronic voting and ballot counting system, a paper ballot system is still present. He added that it will enhance the reliability of the election by recording votes 3 times, on a touchscreen machine, at the central server, and on paper. However, Sung-Ju Kim, a professor of information security at Korea University, told VOA that electronic voting machines, like any other computer systems, can be compromised.
Even if you secure the data on the touchscreen, a server, and ballot, companies can't control how the elections are conducted and therefore should not promise vote integrity.
Election officials feel confident they are ready to proceed with December elections that many consider a crucial step towards ending the political instability that is impeding investment in a country with widespread poverty, economic, and humanitarian crises.
After the explanations and simulation of the vote and the answers to the various questions, we feel that the understanding and acceptance of the voting machine is no longer a problem.
Steve Miller.
With that report from the Democratic Republic of Congo, we conclude the news roundup for this week. Thank you for being part of the program. I'm Tunde Alabi, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye. Regardless, resident status abroad, living outside the shores of one's homeland can really be challenging and sometimes very difficult. Let's be sincere, to keep pace with updates from the host country abroad can really be difficult. Here on Dialogue in Diaspora, we give you every information, every news, every current issue you need to know on updates outside the UK. Dialogue in Diaspora is your link between the world and the United Kingdom. It's your window with Africa development. Here, live on Ben Television.